Welcome back to Higher Level Gaming. I'm Rob.
And I'm Katie.
And today we're talking about Black Panther and if it deserves the Oscar that it is now nominated for. So let's get right into this, guys. First, let's go over the news because this is a discussion video, but it's also, about a big piece of news. So as we can see here, we're looking at an article from The Verge. Black Panther is the first superhero movie to earn an Oscar Best Picture nomination. So obviously this is a huge deal and like a really big deal for superhero movies. I know there was kind of a controversy over the Dark Knight movies because none of those movies were nominated for Best Picture. And a lot of people, I think even myself as a kid at the time, I was like, that's bullshit, I love Batman. So fucking, that was like one of the biggest Oscar snubs. But this is a monumental moment for the genre of superhero movies and also for black movies, right? Because let's be straight up, this is a straight up a black people movie, and that's a great thing.
It's a black cast, so
it's a black cast. It's good that this is getting noticed for that reason as well, I think. So yeah, here we go. It's the first superhero movie to earn a nomination. That's crazy. Yeah, not long ago in Hollywood, people didn't think that a superhero movie should even be in this category. After The Dark Knight, a lot of people were like, kind of upset about that.
Ben Child wrote in The Guardian that there remains a sneaking suspicion that many voters refrained from nominating The Dark Knight, not because they did not believe it to be a great film, but because they did not believe it to be the right sort of great film.
So here's the thing. This is kind of what we're going to get into as the right film. I think one of the reasons that Black Panther is nominated is for that same bias, is because Black Panther is the right pick for the Best Picture, and we'll talk about that in a minute a little bit more and what I mean by that. Blah blah blah. They changed the nominations from 5 to 10 after the Dark Knight thing because it was such a big deal. Change was designed to make room for less traditional Best Picture movies. So I mean that's good. Yeah, now superhero, animated flicks, sci-fi, all that can potentially win Best Picture, but that's really not been the case even since they made these changes. And this is the first superhero movie to even get nominated, and I honestly don't think it will win. We'll talk about if we think it should in a second. Don't worry, we're gonna drag it out. We're gonna keep you coming back for watching, keeping minutes ticking. So before we can talk about if we think it should win, we need to talk about what are the other competitors. We haven't seen them all. We haven't seen every one of them, so we can't even really give a totally accurate view. But of the 3 that we've seen, including Black Panther, we'll tell you which one we think should win. Is it going to be Black Panther, though? Alright. So the awards were announced early Tuesday, and here's for Best Picture. We've got Black Panther at the top, Black Klansman, which I think was also really good, Bohemian Rhapsody, which was that Queen movie with that dude from the Super Nerd show, Hacker Man, whatever, Hacker Man, the Hacker Man,
The robot, Mr. Robot or something.
The Favorite, Green Book, Roma, A Star Is Born, and Vice. Okay, so
Dang, I haven't seen a lot of these.
we have not seen pretty much any of these. We've seen 3. Like we said, we've seen 3. So we might not even know which movie should win, but we'll tell you which one we think should win. Let's talk about, first though, I just mentioned, they didn't think it was the right sort of great film to win. I think a big part of the reason, and this is not to snub or say anything negative about Black Panther, but I think a big part of the reason that Black Panther got nominated is because it is a black people movie, and because that is the kind of movie that would be nominated for Best Picture nowadays. If we remember, I think a couple years ago, Moonlight won for Best Picture. I think that was well deserved. That was really well deserved.
Yeah,
That was a great fucking movie. Oh my god, if you haven't seen Moonlight, I mean, I'm sure you have because it won and everybody saw it. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But I think Black Panther, is kind of, compared to its contemporary superhero movies, not particularly, better as far as plot goes, as far as action goes, or as far as, character, story. If you compare it to other superhero movies, I don't really know that it's any, great leap or bound better than them. Now, again, I'm not saying I don't like Black Panther. That was, of course, one of my favorite superhero movies. That one, I think, is up there for me with, like, Thor Ragnarok, which was maybe my favorite superhero movie.
Yeah, that was really great, too.
And then, of course, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 was, like, really amazing as well. But again, Thor Ragnarok, I think, kind of borrowed a lot of the style from that iteration of the Marvel movies, so that kind of is the same. But anyway, I think this is kind of an Oscar-y thing to do. Like, this is the kind of thing that the Academy would do. Like, we're gonna wait to nominate a superhero movie until it's like the Black Panther movie because it's Black Panther.
I mean, I think I feel like I get it because, like, as far as superhero movies go, it had, like, a decent plot. Like, it was as good as a lot of other superhero movies, but the fact that it was an all-black cast and it inspired, like, a lot of people, that's the kind of thing I think that they look for in an Oscar-type nominee movie. And I think that's one of the major reasons that this movie was nominated. Not so much that, like, the plot of the movie was just kind of crazy or, like, something completely unexpected. It was more to have to do with, like, the social or, like, the culture behind the movie.
Right, so if the question is which one of these movies will have the biggest impact on, movies as a whole, which one of these movies will have the biggest impact on people and the biggest positive impact in the world, I think it goes to Black Panther hands down. There's no other movie on this list in my mind that brings, any kind of awareness to issues that have been, not seen as big as Black Panther does, which is black representation in superhero movies. Still waiting on Blue Beetle over here, fam. But yeah, anyway, I hate also how Ghost Rider was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but he was just like the super fucking stereotypical, like, Hispanic fucking mechanic guy. Like, can we just fucking not?
Yeah, can we just not? Can we not do that?
The Diablo fool from fucking Suicide Squad was just as bad of a stereotype.
Worse,
but I enjoyed watching him, though. That's the difference. I enjoyed watching his character on screen.
Right, yeah. I mean, like, his character was so, like, stylized that, like, even though it was, like, really
right, it worked.
Trope,
it
was
actually
like, okay.
worked. Like, there was, like, a thing to his character that I think was enjoyable to watch on screen, whereas the Ghost Rider dude, it was kind of contrived. I didn't really feel it.
Like, he didn't have to be a mechanic.
He didn't have to be so fucking stereotypical, man. But that's totally besides the point. The point is, I think Black Panther did a great job of raising awareness, that black people can be just as heroic as anybody else. And, there's all those cute Instagram videos of kids running around saying Wakanda forever and all that stuff. And I love that. That's so great. I can't even deny that was one of the biggest impacts that a movie has had in a long time. So, if we're judging it from that perspective, yeah, I mean, the best picture, I guess, was Black Panther. But if we're judging it from the perspective of which one of these movies was the best movie, Black Panther is dead last, and I don't think it even deserves to be on this list.
Well,
that's my opinion. You can disagree.
Well, out of the three movies we've seen, then, like, I feel like that's the least qualified. Yeah, I don't know about everything else on the list.
Of the three that we've seen, I think it's the least qualified. Let's start with the weaker of the two other movies that we saw. Black Klansman. Black Klansman was kind of cool because it was based on a true story, but really why it was a good movie was that Spike Lee directed it, and Spike Lee is fucking amazing. Like, his work is just really good. He knows how to make a movie, he knows how to cast people, he knows how to direct people. It all works, and it works on a level that most superhero movies don't come close to working on. It works on a level that movies like The Dark Knight work on, but unfortunately The Dark Knight didn't get the nomination that it deserved.
Okay. Sorry.
That's funny, right? Like there are superhero movies that work on the level of a movie like Black Klansman that is so well put together. You know, it's seamless. It's a very professional movie done by a real professional guy. But I just don't think Black Panther is one of them. I just don't. And that's not to say that there aren't aspects of it that were great. I think the villain in Black Panther is probably one of the best villains alongside like Thanos as far as recent villains in movies go.
He's a really good villain, yeah.
He's a really good villain, really compelling, really great performance by Michael B. Jordan. I only know him from the show Parenthood I used to watch. He was good on that show too, but it was so different. It's really weird.
So yeah, Black Klansman.
So Black Klansman, I think honestly was better, but I also don't think it deserves to win for Best Picture. I think that the most Oscar baity of the three actually deserves to win, and that is A Star Is Born, because that's right, we saw A Star Is Born. And I gotta admit, when I went into this movie, I was just expecting it to be exactly how it started, which is, you know, the typical Oscar bait movie. It's all this drama of, you know, Bradley Cooper getting fucked up before he goes on stage, and it's like, oh, look how edgy this is, and fucking look at how many problems he has.
Right,
this big rock star playing this stage, like, you know, it was so cliche. And then he goes to a trans bar, like, immediately after, which is just like, you know, come on, we see what you're doing, movie. This is not because you are trying to raise awareness about trans people. It's honestly because you want to Oscar bait. You want to put, you know, trans people within the first 20 minutes of your movie. Good. Hollywood's gonna fucking like that shit. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it. I am pro-trans. I support... If you guys don't know, H-Bomber Guy, he just did a big thing, raising money, raising awareness for trans people. Alexandria Osario-Cortez, Jimquisition, a lot of people were in on it, and I fully support that. I fully support trans people. I fully support trans rights. But I think that the reason they put it in the first 20 minutes of the movie was honestly to appeal to the people who make decisions for what the best picture was. I'm just calling it. I think it was motivated out of not plot, but out of, you know, this is what's gonna sell. This is what people are gonna, you know, look at and be like, oh, that's nice that they did that. And I kind of don't like that. I like when a movie tries to do its own thing, and it just felt a little forced. Like, I don't know, maybe you don't feel that way. Maybe you're a trans person and you feel like, no, it was just nice to be represented. And well, that's totally understandable, and I totally get that. This is just my perspective. But moving on from that, I did just say that I think it deserves to be Best Picture. I don't really have a problem with that scene. I can see why some people would. I actually thought it was good, and the performance that Lady Gaga does in that first scene kind of sets the tone for how the movie ends up being, which is really good. It was a really good performance. It was shot really well. The way it ended was cheesy with her and fucking the dude, but you know what? It worked for the purposes of the movie.
I actually liked it, even though it was really cheesy.
It was cheesy, but it was good. It was good. The rest of the movie continued to get better, because I honestly felt like the parts where they were kind of just getting to know each other were the cringiest, and where they're like sitting in the parking lot talking about like their feelings.
We've seen this before.
Right, it's like
romance.
like it was just so overdone. Like they really didn't need to do all that.
Yeah,
I felt
not
like
that deep. Like,
but the movie goes on to do some amazing things. It's really about this relationship that she forms with Bradley Cooper's character, Lady Gaga's character, and that relationship is more so what the movie's about, as opposed to Lady Gaga becoming famous. Because if it was just about the main character, Lady Gaga, becoming famous, it wouldn't have been as good of a movie. It's really about, and this is a spoiler here, so if you want to skip it, I'll put a timestamp for when to skip to. It's really about Bradley Cooper, his addictions, and his eventual suicide that takes place at the end of the movie. And I think that depiction of his struggle with his mental health issues and the disease that is addiction, and with his eventual, you know, killing of himself, I think that was done in a way that really no movies have captured so accurately. It was done in such a visceral, real way where it's like, yeah, this guy, he's gonna kill himself because everyone is making him feel like he's just a useless piece of shit.
Yeah, and it was done with like a way where you could see like both perspectives. The perspective of Lady Gaga, who has to like, you know, she loves him a lot but has to, you know, struggle and also goes through things because of his struggle with addiction. And then like, you know, how you said like how he feels like knowing everybody thinks he's a piece of shit. So
yeah, it gets really messy, and if you haven't seen it, we really suggest you watch the movie, because at that end of the second half of the movie is gold. Like, the first half of the movie is kind of cringy in some places because of their like romance relationship being kind of forced at first. But if you can get over that little bit of weirdness of their chemistry kind of like falling into place in the movie, then it ends up being a really amazing picture, and in my opinion was the best picture of the year.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It was, for me, the most moving picture I had seen. I really liked Black Klansman because it was like a story.
Dude,
that
Black Klansman was great, and Eric Foreman, dude,
yeah,
he was so good. The guy who plays Eric Foreman was so
like,
great as David Duke. It was so funny.
Yeah, it was hilarious, great acting, a story that hasn't really been told before, or at least I had never heard of before.
Right, it was all there. I mean, the same is true for Black Panther, but does it deserve to win the Oscar? No. Black Panther does not deserve the Oscar for Best Picture.
Whereas I feel like A Star Is Born did all that and more, because it was just also like, you know, so real, really moving to like on a, I guess, more personal level. Which,
yeah,
like,
you almost feel a personal connection to the movie, and I feel like that's what the mark of a really great movie is.
Yeah.
You don't just experience it and you're like, wow, that was fun. You're like, wow, like you feel like a connection to the characters that were portrayed. You identify with them. You're able to live through the struggles that they lived through on the screen, and at the end of it, you feel like you've gone through this roller coaster with them, and it's not just like, wow, that was cool. It's like, wow, that was fucked. Like in this situation, anyway.
Yeah, like that was really sad. Like days later, I was just like, can't believe it went down like that.
Days later, we're still thinking like, wow, I just can't believe he killed himself. I was just like, days later, I was like, wow, babe, it was really sad when he killed himself. Like, it was fucked. And I think for that reason, for that impact of, you know, on the viewership, it deserves to win. I think there should be a category, though, for like most impactful movie, as far as like, you know, this movie is, you know, it breaks barriers, it changes the world, it raises awareness, like those kinds of things. I think Black Panther would win for.
Yeah, because like you said, like how A Star Is Born moved, like you moved me. I can see how some people feel that same way about Black Panther.
But at the same time, I don't even think Black Panther was the best superhero movie of the year.
Yeah, as far as like the movie itself, like if it didn't have that all black cast and it was just like
we rewatched some we watched like all the superhero movies from this last year over again recently, and we have to give it to Infinity War. It was just really well done, and Black Panther prominently features in that movie too, and you know, that movie is just amazing. That was an amazing movie. There's so many great things, and it just flows so well together, and they managed to tie in all these characters from all these different movies in a way that was really succinct and really meaningful and great. Because they could have fucked it up. Like, let's be honest, Star Wars is doing it right now. They could have really fucked it up. That was our whole should Black Panther win the Oscar. Obviously, it's a no from us, guys. Maybe it's a yes from you. If it is, let us know in the comments below, or whatever it is you think. Also, subscribe to the channel, and most of all, most importantly, have a nice day and play some video games.